Today, we're talking about a movie that promises peace and delivers killer flying CDs, alien cocaine, and Dolph Lundgren at maximum Scandinavian fury. He's usually blonde, but this time his hair's darker, just like the film. Welcome to I Come in Peace, or Dark Angel if you rented it in the UK, a movie that proves the only thing more dangerous than heroin is an intergalactic steroid junkie looking for a fix. Let's get to the cheddar. It's
But I mean, the
absolutely
thing about
bonkers.
this is it was directed by Craig R. Baxley, who had
Hmm.
a huge background in film in various roles before he started directing. And I mean, this man on his CV, he's got this and two that we at some point we just have to cover: Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth and Action Jackson with Apollo Creed himself. I mean, that's
To
not a
be fair,
bad
that's quite a trilogy.
That's not a bad CV just for these three, is it? And one of the
Yeah,
things we learn is that Craig makes lean, mean action films. You look at the running times, he doesn't mess about. And
yeah.
as you alluded to, the one thing that sticks with me for this whole movie, it must hold the record for the amount of explosions in one film. Everything explodes, whether it's from the shot from a gun, a car, a spacecraft landing. Every 10 minutes or so, the screen's lit up and on fire. Craig knows how to do it, and he reminds us every 10 to 15 minutes. And it's incredible. I've never seen, I mean, we've seen Commando. There's so many films, but tell me, Matt, a film where so literally things get blown up and the flames are so high with such regularity.
I know. I mean, this film is to explosions what our previous episode, Mark for Death, is to Broken Bones. Um,
Exactly.
it's they both came out in 1990, and they clearly just went right. What can we do that's a bit different? So Seagal's breaking everybody's arms. I tell you what, let's just break everything else by blowing it up. Yes, I mean I think there's an explosion about once every 5 minutes throughout the
Yeah.
runtime. It is absolutely mental. Now, I mean, this film was made on a $7 to $9 million budget. Clearly, most of that went on Dolph Lundgren and explosions, because the script they clearly forgot about, but and some of the plot devices. But it didn't actually do very well in the cinemas. I remember going to see it at the Cannon in London. And I quite liked it, if I remember it correctly. But then where it really hit home was when it got to VHS and as it was coming DVD. So home and it absolutely did massive numbers there. So yeah, is that so this is probably the one, other than maybe Red Scorpion, is the one that everybody outside of obviously Rocky Four, is the film that everybody remembers Dolph Lundgren for. Hence why he is here today. Forget to the cheddar. Well, he's not here. Obviously, he's not here, but he's here with us. But get to the cheddar. I thought I was going to
The
spring
other
a
thing we've
surprise
got
there.
to
I go,
mention
here's
about
Dolph.
this one immediately, Matt, is we
Yeah.
have got a B movie legend as the main villain as well, Matthias Hues. I
Oh,
mean, you
what a
talk
man.
about the days when if it didn't do well at the cinema, it did well on VHS or DVD. That man was a go-to villain as an alien, a Russian, a German, you name it. Tall, blonde, like Dolph, brilliantly built. And Matthias during the 80s and 90s was legendary. He's still in incredible shape now. And
Yeah.
for those British fans, if you've seen the later series of a sitcom called Brassic,
Mm.
he sends himself up incredibly in that with
Yeah.
his physique and shows that he's got a really good knowing sense of humour. But in this, when we talked about Steven Seagal being 6'4" and at his peak lean, when we're talking what was Dolph 6'6", 6'7", wasn't he?
Yeah,
And
he's 6'6", I believe. Yeah,
yeah,
six.
and
Yeah.
huge. So you needed someone with the physical presence to go
Mm.
up against him, and whatever else the failings of this film, Matthias, with the boots that he wears and towers over Dolph, he did what was needed to do in a very functional way. And I think in terms of villains, it was someone you believed Dolph was going to have a hard time kicking his ass.
Yeah, I mean, he is quite a physically imposing figure throughout the film. I mean, you can believe that he's a dangerous alien just purely because of his presence. Yeah, you mentioned that he did a Russian general. I mean, that is probably my other favorite Matthias Hues role, which is No Retreat, No Surrender 2.
I knew
Just for
you'd know that.
the the posing with his arm, the rippling muscle on his arm when he yeah, it's just brilliant, just brilliant. I love Matthias Hues. I have, yeah. If he's in a film, I will likely watch it, especially from the 80s and 90s, because he is just amazing. So, I suppose we ought to delve into this film rather than waxing lyrical about who's in it. I mean, the other person we should mention at this point is it co-stars Brian Benben, who
Mm.
comes into the film later on. He was done as the comedic sidekick, but the director decided just to give it that added kind of amusement. He picked somebody who's incredibly short. He's only 5'7", so standing him next to Dolph, who's 6'6", he looked titchy. So you can tell where this film is going just by the way they've done things. So yeah, so a 5'7" guy next to a 6'5" Swedish man holding a gun the size of a microwave. It just looks cool. Anyway, and also I should actually point out, right? I Come in Peace. It's probably the most dishonest title of the 1990s. There was nothing peaceful about this guy. But anyway, we'll get on to that. Why it's not very like that. But yes. Anyway, so we know it's set at Christmas because immediately we spring into Christmas songs, and the title style and everything just reminded me of Lethal Weapon. It opens with a random guy in a car who's playing a brand new CD player, CDs, in the car, which were at 1990. I mean, the Berlin Wall had just fallen, or was about, yeah, just fallen, and the new wave was coming in, and they were talking about these things called CDs, which
It's dustproof, scratch-proof, digitally recorded, read by a laser, and it's called the compact disc. And that's it.
so it would come to this. So this guy is in this car. Now he tells us it's a brand new car, because at one point when he puts the CD in, it all goes wonky and it doesn't play. And he exclaims, "10K for a car," and I immediately went, "Wow, things were cheaper back then." For a brand new, and it's a big Mercedes or Beamer, I'm not sure which. Anyway, so the car goes wonky and he gets really annoyed, and then all of a sudden this the great big bang in the sky, and he does this sort of right hand turn and ends up in this Christmas tree selling bit, which looks exactly like the same spot where they sold the trees in Lethal Weapon. Like I said, the font on the titles, everything. You could almost be watching Lethal Weapon at this point. Just no naked lady falling on top of a car at the beginning. So anyway, so 10K for a car. So he crashes. I mean, I hope he's got insurance because when he gets out, the car just gets absolutely ruined by the crash landing alien, which is Matthias Hues, who stands up bit like the Superman thing where the little kid stands up, except you've got a hulking brute the size of Matthias Hues getting up who tells this guy he comes in peace and then kills him. So, yeah, it's interesting to note, actually, the music at this point. I should actually point out, this is actually Jan Hammer of Miami
Mm.
Vice fame who did the soundtrack. So you can expect some
And Matt,
serious
when you
synth.
mentioned about Lethal Weapon and
Yeah,
the Christmas feel and everything, immediately there's a neon wash, isn't there, to every scene. That reflected light, the blues, the steam, the flames. It just screams 90s.
yeah.
It sets it stall straight out. And again, I like the way when, as you said, when he steps up, we learn very quickly that one, the alien's not coming in peace, and two, he's very tall.
I come in peace.
It's set
Very
out
big.
immediately.
Yeah,
But by this
exactly.
time, as you know, Craig said, "Look, I'm impatient, guys. We know he's not coming in peace. We know he's not tall. I've got another explosion I need to do. So let's get to this police station."
Yeah, I mean, I should point out at this point, Craig R. Baxley started life as a stunt coordinator. He worked on
Mm.
Predator. So that's probably why the
His
explosions are so
CV's
massive.
huge before he directs.
Yeah, I mean, he famously preferred practical fireballs over optical effects, and you would have never have guessed. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean, literally, you feel the heat coming off this film.
Mm.
And you're saying about the neon stuff and the Jan Hammer. I mean, this is the most 80s, 90s film I've ever seen. It was 90, so it was obviously made in the late 80s. So, but even so, it's still a 90s film technically, but it feels very 80s. So anyway, so we move on. So this has happened, and then rather than seeing what he's up to, they cut away and they go to this police station. Now, this is where I start to get a little bit confused straight away. Um, you will see why in a minute. So we cut to this police station, and there's this random copper walking around, and he gets called to a room J38, A38 for no apparent reason on the tannoy. So he goes to this room and he unlocks it. Little known to him, there is some guy crawling in through the vent system at the same time. And he goes in there, and this guy kills him and steals his name badge. Now, firstly, why was he called to that room? This doesn't seem to be, because there's the woman on the tannoy is not seen to be in collusion with any of this. But he goes there and he gets killed. Um, so for a name badge. So this comes into play because this guy then meets another guy who's already in the police station in disguise, and the two of them go and steal some heroin from the lockup. And I'm like, hang on, the other guy's just walked in disguise. Why couldn't you have done that? And why are you not leaving via the vent again when you've got your... Anyway, very confusing. Um, but the guy at the desk notices his name badge and realizes it's not him and calls it in. Not that it really matters, because as they leave the building, the guy in the back seat's going to him. He goes, let's go, let's go. And the guy's going, no, it's all right. We don't want to rush it again. No, let's go, let's go. And why did he do that?
Jesus Christ.
Because they blow the entire building up. I mean, literally, it's like Die Hard times 4. It's like kablooey. It's everywhere. The building is just incinerated. And yeah, there is nothing left of this building. Absolutely nothing left of it. Interesting point. It's never mentioned, ever,
No.
in the rest of the film. They never say, oh, by the way, the building's been blown up. The FBI, when they turn up, don't mention the exploded building. Loads of police are around, so I'm wondering how many police were in the building when it got blown up, and why aren't they going back to the police station to find out where it got...
And we
It's never
film
mentioned.
the rest of the movie. It's obviously a different precinct.
Yes.
But again,
Well,
when you talk about the confusion, we realise that these yuppies, it's a yuppie gang, and they're working for a guy called Manning. Now, Manning wanted those drugs to set up Dolph Lundgren and his partner, who
Yeah.
he knew were undercover cops. If he knew that already, why did he need such an elaborate scheme to get the drugs anyway? Just call them in and have no drugs.
just kill them.
And just kill. And obviously the whole reason for this is because we know that Dolph's partner's got to be isolated, because Dolph is outside begging them to mention drugs and money so he can burst in to help
On his
mate.
headset.
But what happens? The convenience store is parked outside, is robbed, or in the process of being robbed, and Dolph is torn. But how are we going to get a reverse spinning sidekick from a 6'5" man if he doesn't decide to stop the robbery?
I mean, the fun part is he literally, as he gets out of the car, goes, keep talking, lads. Why don't you just leave your headset in and go? Anyway, so yeah, like you said, like you mentioned, he goes in this shop. Now, this scene is very reminiscent of a film that came out earlier in 1990, Hard to Kill, where it almost looks like exactly the same shop, other than it didn't have the mats on the floor for people to land on. They'll take them out and clean them up. So yeah, I mean, it is quite fun when Dolph walks in and just roundhouses this guy into oblivion. But the guy who's at the back of the store holding these two people up doesn't even hear or notice that his mate has just been done over, and he turns around with his gun, and there's Dolph pointing a gun at him. It is quite funny anyway. So he ends up dead, because you think he'll just beat him up, but no, he shoots him through the head and the guy dies. And then, Dolph does his emoting like he's in need of the toilet. He must have gone to the Seagal School of Acting. And so he goes back, and he ends up in the club. I mean, we won't go play by play, but he ends up in the club, and it's too late. His friend has already died. Now, you mentioned the heroin setup. The fun part of this heroin setup is they get disturbed and they leave without the heroin. Why steal it all? And
They leave the three
I know
guys,
they're trying to set him
don't they?
up. Yeah,
They leave the three guys to do the cleanup. And as you said, they leave the heroin with the three guys. But in all this time, because you look at the time frame, which seems to be quite short, they kill his partner, they leave. Matthias Hues arrives.
How does he find them? That's what I want to know. Has he got
Yeah,
like a
uses his little
heroinometer?
CD disc, kills them all, takes the heroin. Then Dolph turns up, and then the police turn up. It's that sort of movie because right throughout the movie, the threads are very hard to pull together, aren't they? Have you noticed, Matt? It's so we know that in between Dolph doing the shootout and the clean up, not only has Manning got away, he's left his three guys to clean up the guy, take the drugs with them as well. But Matthias stops all that. He needs his heroin. He gets that. Then Dolph turns up. Then his boss turns up, and as usual, without surveying the scene, without really discussing it with him, Dolph's to blame and he needs a vacation. I mean, hear the man
It
out.
is.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
I
You
mean,
need a vacation. You're off the case.
they're banging through the tropes fairly quickly. Now, one thing I forgot to mention was the three guys who turn up with the heroin. They're the ones who've blown up the police station that nobody talks about. In the car, they're in police uniforms, and this other guy's in this like sort of casual jacket and stuff. When they get out the car, they are all three of them fully dressed in shirt tie suits and dark shoes. At no point do we see him taking like the tie off. How on earth they can change into these suits, I do not know. And getting out of the car, they just get out, and there's no clothes left in the car because they do this hand shot past it. So I don't know what they've done. Anyway, they've gone in, and as you said, Matthias Hues turns up with his flying CD-ROM of death, which looks like a frisbee designed by Handies. There's an 80s reference for everybody. Handies. And the interesting part is the disc effects. As I said earlier, Craig did not like doing computer effects. Well, CGI didn't really exist back then. It was all done practically with wire rigs and early composites. So that's actually, when you look back at that scene, it's actually quite clever. Although it is extraordinarily violent because all these guys, get their throats cut and all this kind of stuff. I mean,
And you mentioned the tropes, Matt. Immediately, we've got the super Swede as the only intelligent man in the room that goes, hang on.
yeah,
No matter how fast he was, how was someone killed here, here, and here with a throat slit?
yeah,
It wasn't this, it wasn't that. And the boss is going, oh, what are you on about? And then suddenly the feds turn up.
yeah.
And
Take him into a toilet
yeah,
to tell him you're on the case.
and then goes back and tells his boss he's on the case, and then they give him Benben.
Yeah,
And
Benben,
this
yeah.
is what I said about Craig. When he directs, he doesn't waste time. You think in the back of his mind we've got this next action scene to set up that's going to take days, and so let's get him out of here. So no, you're not going on vacation. You're coming with us, and we're immediately set up with another trope: the chalk and cheese partners. Dolph,
Yeah.
the man of action, uses his instinct. Ben, the little guy, the comedic sidekick, who does everything by the letter of the federal law.
The only thing that comes out for me this scene is like, I mean, before Spotify, aliens had to kill people the old-fashioned way, and they do it with such precision that even the ex-girlfriend, who also rolls into this scene, we should add. Well, no, she's not an ex; she's current girlfriend, but she's annoyed with Dolph because, in an unexplained manner, Dolph had been missing for 8 days, presumably undercover on this, even though they already knew who he was. But so everybody's annoyed at him because he went missing for 8 days and didn't tell anybody where they were. She says words to the effect of, that cut is so fine I couldn't even do that with a scalpel. So that just doesn't make sense because you can't get much thinner than a scalpel. So this CD can't be. Anyway, logic is not important in this film. It's just, making sure that we know what's going on. And the other thing, of course, is with Dolph being all seeing all know. I mean, he's coming off the back of the Punisher and Masters of the Universe. He's insisting on doing all his own stunts. So, and isn't he got like a degree in chemistry or something? He's really
very
clever.
bright. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really clever. But so he goes for minimal dialogue and maximum physical presence in this film. So he doesn't do a lot of talking, but like you said, he kind of goes, yeah, but clearly that didn't happen. And everybody's in the room. I mean, the FBI look at him and go, yes, you must be right. It's like, hang on, you're the FBI. You're meant to know more than he does. Otherwise, why isn't he in the FBI? Anyway. So Brian Benben is the, I suppose, neurotic counterbalance because everything is, we've got to report into the boss, we've got to follow the rules, and from the beginning that at some point Mr. Benben is going to get punched in the face by Dolph Lundgren because he is intensely irritating. So you've got, Dolph Stoic Iceman kind of thing, and then you've got Benben, who's like caffeinated up to the eyeballs the whole way through the film. But to be fair, their chemistry is actually better than it has any right to be. It's actually pretty good. I mean, Ben was known for comedy, which is probably why the banter works. But yeah, so anyway, we've laid this out. It's now a buddy cop movie where one guy worries constantly, and the other guy looks like he could just punch out a Volvo or something.
Now, Matt,
So
you and I were discussing beforehand that to follow this film chronologically is very difficult because of the different threads, and not a great deal happens that doesn't happen repeatedly. Have you noticed there's so much repeated in this film? And what
yeah,
we find out, if we cut to the chase about the alien, is the heroin, once it's pumped into a human body and then for some reason the pituitary gland in the head when he sucks it out creates a
yeah,
wonder drug on this alien planet that you just
yeah,
can't match the high. But
yeah.
because it's Craig R. Baxley, whoever Matthias is trying to find or kill or get his little hook thing that comes out of his wrist and is
It's
very
Spider-Man
cleverly done
thing.
and into their chest and then the spike into the head, he's got to blow stuff up first. We get the little old tramp lady, bless her,
Yeah,
with lipstick, by the way, and
yeah.
going into this like warehouse that's going to be his own home now. Rather than go through a window or door, we hear this huge explosion. He blows a big hole in it. Then he blows a big hole in two other walls because when you're 7 foot tall, you just cannot be asked to open doors or walk round things. So we get the explosions and we realise he's here to get a huge amount of this special drug by draining something from our brains. And at the same time, because he arrives in exactly the same way, we've got an alien cop.
Yeah, he's the
And
one
they're
who
big
lands in the
guns.
thing with the tramp lady. That's where
Yeah,
he's coming through. So they're both into blowing everything up. These
yeah,
aliens are blow everything up. And that new alien who turns up, by the way, looks like the Undertaker. They wanted the Undertaker from the WWE, WWF, but he's got a really high, even higher than mine, receding hairline. I mean, it's quite the
and
sight. I
to
mean, it all.
accentuate that, they give him a mullet. Poor bugger.
Yeah, poor bloke. I mean, yeah, I mean, he signed on to that. Um, yeah, it's yeah. The other thing, just before we leave the heroin scene, they all start blaming Dolph for the missing heroin. How's that his fault? He just turned up and
Yeah,
they brought the heroin in. So I didn't get that. But anyway, we'll move on. And it's another agent called Smith. Ben's name is Agent Smith. They seem to have Agent Smith everywhere at this point. Yeah, so the knockoff Undertaker with the receding hairline, he's now on scene, and like I said, he's blowing buildings up, and they're off to go and find it. In the meantime, Matthias, our good friend Mr. Matthias, Mr. I Come in Peace, has found his first victim, who is in like another store, like a liquor store, drugstore. I don't know what they call them. And no, it's not. He's in a hotel. Sorry, it's a motel hotel, isn't it?
yeah.
Because he comes down and then the dog goes outside and it goes quiet. And so the guy goes, obviously, somebody messing about. He sticks his head outside and goes, wait, doesn't see anybody. Goes back and then Matthias walks past the window. Rather than going and looking out again, the guy pulls out a shotgun and shoots out all the glass because Craig obviously needed something exploded at this point. And then this guy gets done. He gets rock bottom to the floor. There's plenty of wrestling going on onto the floor, and then he does the thing with the Spider-Man thing. The now this device, this harpoon thing, it's either Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man crossed with Scorpion in Mortal Kombat 2. The get over here thing.
Yeah.
It comes out now. It doesn't just go straight. It's like it's almost got a life of its own, like it's a snake or something. It's going shh, and then it sticks in. And immediately I thought, is this like sentient or something? Because it seems to do its own thing. Because surely if you're just shooting like that, it would go straight into your chest. Anyway, he does that. So anyway, he's done over. And yes, and then Dolph. We're back at the club again now while this is all going on, and Dolph has discovered that the CD-ROM of death is in the speaker because it's magnetic attraction. And then Ben tries to pull it out and cuts himself because he's an idiot. You can see it spinning, and he still puts his hand on it. Anyway, so they take the whole speaker and they go to see Dolph's mate. who's called Boner. Oh no! They go to a bar. That's right. They go to a bar where this guy's called Boner, Michael J. Pollard, who you recognise from
Legend of the
loads of films.
70s.
Yeah, absolute legend.
70s
And he,
legend, Michael J. Pollard.
yeah, and he's also in Tango and Cash as the like the Q dude from the Bond films. He's in loads of these films, very recognisable with his nose and his thing. Anyway, unfortunately, he left us in 2019. But yeah, he's called Boner. Very odd choice of character name, and I don't even know why. Because they're trying to find out information, which he doesn't really want to give them. Anyway, that all goes on. Now they're off to go and see Dolph's mate, who is a college person. But before they get there, we cut to Matthias's second victim, who is a young lady mechanic. Who is singing a song. Now, I bring this up, not that it's important, but I bring it up because the music playing on the stereo is a song called Maggie by a band called Dare, who I absolutely loved back in the late 80s, early 90s. I loved Dare. I had their albums. I saw them at Donington, or maybe not Donington, but I've seen them live anyway. So when this came, I was like, yeah, I mean, I was completely sold on the film at this point. And then the very next thing he does is he dumps the girl on the floor and rips her top open. And then does the thingy.
Were you so into the music that you excused the obvious dummy when it goes into her head?
There was a dummy that went in. I didn't even notice. I don't know what I was looking at, but it probably wasn't her head. The music was a big thing for me there. So she dies. Now we cut back again. This film jumps.
Yeah,
Like you were saying, the structure of the film jumps a bit. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get through. They're trying to get through victims and stuff. Now,
I can cut through it there, Matt, because this subplot that finally we've got to find a way. Basically, the thing they were trying to do was find a way to get Dolph and Matthias together so Dolph can realise it's an alien.
Yeah.
When you mentioned earlier that everybody thinks Dolph's got the drugs, the big boss Manning tells Dolph Lundgren, "You've got to help me out now. You've got to do a delivery of these drugs for me," to the Leong character.
Yeah.
Which makes a nonsense of Dolph having the drugs, because Manning somehow has still got either more or the same drugs. But because it's all gone pear-shaped for him, Dolph's got to work for Manning now because he's got so many guys. There's a big meeting at his office, isn't there, to show how many men he's got and how big his organisation is. And so he's got to take this heroin to Al for the money. And as you said, what a lovely little cameo from another 80s legend. Any action film from Die Hard onward with the famous scene where he nicks the little
sweets from the and
it's got Al Leong in it.
And he was the torture guy from Lethal Weapon.
Just to make Dolph's day even worse, he decides to screw them over and leave with the money and the drugs, and actually bumps into Matthias, who you've alluded to earlier, which we never see the answer to. How does he know where all these drug dealers are and where these deals are going down? Because he always turns up. And this is where our two plots finally converge, because Dolph finally gets to meet Matthias, but in meeting him and solving one of his problems, Manning decides Dolph Lundgren's betrayed him, so his whole crew have got to kill him. So Dolph now has a 7-foot alien that he's peed off, and the whole of Manning's crew wanting to kill him. And just at the time when he manages to just escape Matthias, Benben turns up and has to try and be convinced that it's a 7-foot alien.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, you summed that up beautifully. And the other thing is, Al Leong runs out the back, so Dolph makes chase after him. He catches up, he gets to the end of this way, and he can't find him, and then just to his left on the wall is Al Leong, who then just falls forward, as he does, because he generally dies in every film he's in. Everything from Big Trouble to Lethal Weapon to... You don't see him die in Die Hard, but I'm sure he does. Anyway, he falls forward, but he hasn't died via the normal route of... Matthias Hues, because he normally picks him up, puts him on the floor. So I'm not entirely sure he was killed by Matthias Hues. He's just dead. But going back to this, the victims thing, cutting between the storylines and it getting a bit... If it was Stallone, they would have done that in a montage. And that probably would have helped a montage of the deaths, because just would have made it a little bit easier.
Because this
But
does
probably
jump around a lot, doesn't it?
it does, and that's why. This is why when we do other films, I find it quite easy to go right. This happens here. This film, I'm consciously going right. What order is this film in? Because it jumps around and does make it actually quite stark in places. Anyway, so we've got to this whole thing, and now they bumped into each other, and Dolph goes to do big boy stuff, and basically Matthias Hues just goes, "Not today, my friend," and puts him down. Just as he's about to do over Dolph, the Timu Undertaker turns up and starts shooting, and more explosions, run off in different directions, and Dolph's standing there looking confused, which probably isn't him acting, it's probably just him, he just read the script. So we get to that bit, and then they go to see his friend, who is so hyped up on caffeine, explaining. We get the exposition on what endorphins are. So we get this. That's the entire point of this scene. He gets done, and then Dolph takes the piece of evidence home. Now, this is the only point I actually agree with Benben. What on earth is he doing walking around with physical evidence from murder scene and taking it to his flat, which is done out like a penthouse suite, by the way? And Benben's quite shocked. He's like, "Oh my word, it's not what I expected." Why would you do that? You would put it in the police there, even if, I thought that was quite odd as well. Anyway, so we goes to the next morning, and Dolph has been to see his lady friend who he had the falling out with, and he's ended up staying the night there. He's come back to his flat, which has been broken into, and anybody who's paying attention to the film at this point will know exactly what has happened. So the house has been turned over, and Ben is in there, and he goes, "I got here before you. You've been broken into." So there's a bit of a note. He goes, "Where's the disc then?" And you go, "Well, I left it with my mate." And it's just, it's very contrived at this point. We then get another shootout, because it cuts off to another shootout between the aliens and
Matt, every time the aliens have a shootout,
something
those
explodes.
big guns of theirs, it's like they've got mini tanks, isn't it? And Craig's going, "More explosions in the back, more explosions." And the thing is, as you said, Matthias, seeing he's wearing these jumped up boots to make him even taller, he's so athletic and so lithe, and he's running, and this gun, as good as it is, only just manages to ever blow up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars just behind him, so that they're each going up in turn, and just as he jumps onto the next one. And then he turns back.
It's a great scene as well. It's a great money shot scene of him bouncing off the cars, looking like he's.
And they're exploding,
I think they use it in the trailer. Yeah.
And
it's brilliant.
Of course, he turns back and fires once, and poor old Timu Undertaker gets it.
Yeah. So, interesting side note, that alien gun wasn't a prop. It's actually a modified Calico M950 submachine gun that actually fired 9mm rounds. So, while it looks crazy, it did actually work. I hope they didn't do that live on set, obviously. But yes, as you've just said, so the alien cop is injured. Now, this is where they now lay in a conspiracy subplot, because obviously the FBI are now catching on to the fact we've got aliens, so they try and fob off Dolph. They tell him, "Right, you're now on holiday, off you go away." They tell Ben, "Don't worry about it, it's all good, not a problem." They won't let them back on the scene of the crime, and it's all getting a bit shady. So Dolph tells his girlfriend, now she's what are they called? She does all the autopsies and stuff.
Yeah.
He tells her, right, coroner, that's the word, thank you. She's a coroner. He tells her, right, I'm in it for you, I'm going on holiday. Why don't you? She goes, I've got a job. Well, take holiday leave. Well, I can't just do that. Well, leave your job. Oh, okay then. Okay, I'm just going to go and quit my job. I don't know how much money you two are earning, but I bet it's not enough. Anyway, so she goes off, and Dolph wanders back to his car, because there's this whole thing in the film of if he makes a promise, he keeps it. Yeah. And he gets in the back of the car, and the alien's there who just starts talking to him. And then Ben gets in the car, and in a brilliant turn, just like this, and doesn't question the fact there's an alien in the car. They just start talking to him.
What I questioned was when Dolph first gets in and the car looks empty. We're talking about a 7-foot giant hiding in the back seat
with a huge forehead,
with a huge mullet.
How did you not notice him?
Then he suddenly sits upright, and I love the way It looks like a mixture of cottage cheese and mashed potato, their blood and guts, doesn't it? And Ben looks around and goes, "Oh, he's bleeding." No, his whole stomach is sort of like just oozing out of his body. He goes, "He's bleeding." Not, "Oh, look, it's white stuff or anything." It's just like, "Oh, he's bleeding."
He's bleeding. He bleeds marshmallows apparently because it just looks like melted marshmallow coming out. And they were like, I swear it's probably what they did use, or The Stuff. If you've seen that film, another 80s classic, The Stuff.
Yeah.
It just looks like that. I mean, I don't know. We haven't even got to talking about sort of the alien drug scene, which we probably should talk about at some point. But because that's what this is all about. It's all about drugs, and he's a narc. He's basically an alien narc, is what he is. Yet he bleeds marshmallows. So I don't know why they need that endorphin if he's got that much sugar inside his body, being he's a giant marshmallow. Maybe that's why they bounce when they run, because
When they ran, yeah.
they are
But
the marshmallow
even
man
then,
from.
Ben is playing the I've got to go see my boss, hasn't he? I've got to go tell my
Yeah.
boss. We've got to get this sorted. I've got the gun. We can prove everything. And then he goes. There's again another. I think good effect for the time. He says, "We've got proof now. We got the alien." And just as the alien dies, they don't decompose, do they, Matt?
No, they blow up. Of course they do. 'Cause it's a Craig Baxley film. They blow up. But while this, so then from there, oh man, this is actually. I mean, we're almost at the end of the film, and it seems quite complex. My brain is expanding. Switcher then goes to meet his boss. Switcher meets him at the end of the road. Sorry, his boss, the Benben's boss, Switcher. He goes and meets him, and Dolph has said to him, he said, "Oh, he'll give you the eggs and omelet line before too soon." And they're standing by this pond thing. So it's like, hang on a minute, he must have known what was going on. How did he communicate? By the by, anyway, so he goes to this scene. He's talking to his boss, and he's handing over the weapon and all this, and he's going, yeah. And then the boss rolls out the eggs and omelette line, and Agent Smith realizes, I've made a huge mistake. And then the boss is about to do away with Agent Smith, and Dolph casually walks up and shoots the FBI chief through the face, and he dies in the fountain. Now, I know these films we've been watching, the last couple of films, there are no police to be seen anywhere, but he's just shot the chief of the FBI in the face. This is not, I've just shot somebody. It's the chief of the FBI. People are not going to be happy that he's just killed an FBI. I mean, that isn't that like death sentence
Yeah, it's
criminal
crazy,
thing in America.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's done that. Anyway, so they do all this, and then they're wandering back to the car with the gun, which you don't see him take back off the boss, and all the evidence. And they go back to the car, and his girlfriend's still with them in tow now. And then the yuppie gang turn up, and they start shooting. And then in the middle of nowhere, like a scene out of Chariots of Fire, Matthias Hues comes right. He's in a police car. He comes running down the road, dun, 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 and he pulls out his gun, and of course more explosions. I mean, I think that's how they worked out where the end of the scene was. Something explodes and they cut to the next scene. So cars are blowing up. The yuppie gang members are dying. Matthias doesn't actually notice Dolph and the other guy and the girlfriend on the right-hand side of the road, but they do when they pick up the gun, because Ben's trying to work out how to operate the gun, and he's doing different strengths. So he shoots him on number 1, and it doesn't really do a lot. He gets it up to number 3, and then Matthias Hues starts paying attention, and
Which
more stuff
builds to the
explodes.
one thing we were missing, Matt.
A
It
car
builds
chase.
to the one thing we were missing.
The
Car chase.
which takes it's from the Blues Brothers, no less, when they do the shopping mall thing. So more smash glass, more explosions. This is probably more entertaining than the Mark for Death one we talked about in the last episode. There are still no police anywhere other than the police car that Matthias Hues has stolen. But they're smashing stuff up. I mean, people, glass, boom. And then they end up at the Robocop warehouse.
You took the words out of my mouth. We're back at the Robocop warehouse.
The Robocop warehouse. I mean, to be fair, this is filmed mostly in Houston, Texas, and most of these locations are reused Canon productions, obviously because they were trying to save budgets and stuff. So that's why. But we're back at the thing anyway. So they're running. I mean, this. I've said this before on other Get to the Cheddars. I mean, if I'm a police person in that kind of area and there's a crime, I'm literally going to find the chemical warehouse or the industrial warehouse that is closest and just go there. Because that's where all the criminals go. They go and hide in these kind of warehouses. So yeah, anyway, so we get that, and then we're into the final battle fairly quickly. They try and set him up by putting the endorphins just on the side so he can get them, or the pouch thing that it's in, which looks like something the Predator would have because it goes. So Craig Baxley probably nicked that from the set, and they've taken out the endorphin things anyway. So the alien guy walks up to the thing to pick up, sorry, Matthias, to pick up the thing, and they've got him dead to rights from a window, which he doesn't notice them from. There's a great big hole in this window, and the three of them are like, like this. Benben goes to fire the gun, and unbelievably, despite the amount of rounds that they have been firing all film, the gun doesn't work because it's run out of ammo. I mean, literally, you never see them reload at any point, but it's run out of ammo. And then that's when Matthias Hues notices them, and then he fires his gun. More explosions, more running about. Dolph tells the other two, go on, get lost, you're going to get hurt. He goes running after the alien. So we then get a big tussle between them and all this kind of stuff. And we then decide to do a homage to Commando because Matthias Hues gets thrown through a great big pipe with steam coming out of it. And unfortunately, he doesn't do the let off some steam. He doesn't do that line. But the guy is on this thing. And we then get to what is the line of the film, which they actually spoil in the trailer, which is probably the best one-liner from one of these films that you've had, where the alien goes, "I can hear you," and young Mr. Lundgren just goes,
And you go in pieces, asshole.
shoots him with the alien's gun, blows him into like 60,000 million pieces, yeah, it's that sort of.
But Matt,
yeah, everything blows up. Yeah,
you mentioned last time when we were talking about Marked for Death how weird the ending was. It just ends. I
Yeah.
love, in typical 90s fashion, you get our three heroes. Look what they have been through. And it's like, hey, time for that vacation now. Off we go. I mean, it's like, hey, it's just I love the way that after all this, you can just switch back to the happy emotions and, well, I'm glad that's out of the way. Phew, we've killed the head of the FBI. There's 2 aliens dead. Half the city's blown up. Hey, what are we doing tomorrow?
And Benben's like playing
It's
gooseberry.
wonderful.
And Benben's hanging off the girlfriend like he's gooseberry. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
What's going on here? But yeah, and still, no police. Mind you, probably most of them dead from the explosions. So, yeah, no repercussions because it's, I mean, I don't know. But I mean, the interesting part was this was actually planned. The reason for that is because they originally planned it as a franchise or potential franchise. So the ending is a little bit open for a sequel with them walking off into the sunset. But I mean, the movie wanted sequels, but the reality went, no, because they never did. I mean, it's probably more primed for a TV series than it would a movie sequel. But in fact, there was a TV series called Dark Angel, which is unrelated, but. So, and then they put this really rubbishy, crappy song on the end. They've had Dare in the middle. They've had some decent needle drops, and then they put some nonsense song over the end, which, I wasn't very impressed with. That kind of upset me at the end of the film that they didn't actually finish it properly.
While we mull over it, Matt, let me give you my biggest problem with the whole film, and it's from a fan's point of view.
Okay.
For a big guy, Dolph was very athletic. We see with that initial kick in the opening, and we've seen it in other films. Very dynamic fighter, very good, genuine Kyokushin black belt, knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
For a film with so much action in, he is rarely the protagonist. He's rarely the one that kicks all the butt, which is what we want to see. When you watch a Seagal, a Van Damme, Bruce Lee, you name it, movie, Jet Li, you want to see them doing it. When you look over the full length of the film, overall, it's Matthias Hues blowing stuff up, the other alien blowing stuff up. The amount of actual action sequences or fully great choreographed action with Dolph is absolutely minimal. And even in the last fight, when you mentioned where you get stuck on the pipe, most of that fight is Dolph wrestling with the maybe sentient thing that's going to go into his face or into his body or into his neck. And eventually, despite the obvious strength difference between the two, he manages to stop it and throw it back at Matthias. There's very few points in the film where we've got Dolph being Dolph and kicking butt.
Yeah.
Even the gang, as you mentioned, the suited yuppie gang, it's Matthias that virtually takes them all out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's
And
almost
I
an
just wanted to see
anti-hero.
Dolph
Almost.
a bit more. I felt the subplot with the gang was genuinely for that. So, okay, we know Matthias will be the final villain that he's got to face. But before that, I thought we'd have opportunities where they said, Manning wants you dead. Bish, bash, bosh. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Subplot that makes his life even tougher. It didn't really happen. Dolph, although he's the hero, doesn't do an incredible amount of heroic stuff, which as a fan at the time and as a fan of the man is what you pay your bucks for.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, again, it's one of these films that when you first watch it, you come out going, "Yeah, that was great." Yeah, but now, which is the point of Get to the Cheddar, and we've said this previously, but this is the point of Get to the Cheddar. We're looking at these films then, going, "Yeah, they were amazing," and we're we're looking at it now as adults and a little bit more sensible, plus also the films that have come since, and you kind of look at it and go, now the action beats, like we said, the running over the cars with the explosions, and some of the fight bits in it, they're actually quite cool, but do they hold up?
And it's the same. We've both said as well. The plot is so disjointed, and
Yeah,
when it's disjointed like that, it leaves room for such gaping holes. As I said, I think there's one case, isn't there, where there's the guy that was outside of like the motel, the black guy that goes, "You should have seen him. He was 7 feet tall. He was this, that," and everyone's going, "Oh yeah, whatever." Nobody seems to put together the fact that suddenly out of nowhere there's explosions all over the city. There's guys with their throat slits with the coroner going, "Never seen anything like that," and the guy's just an idiot. He's just some guy off the street. I hate it when nobody, except obviously Dolph, puts two and two together when there's so much evidence to the contrary. There's so much stuff blown up in that film. And then we realise the only people that do are the nasty side of the feds who want this for military purposes. There was so much potential in that film, and Dolph, as I said, he's at his physical peak. He's at his what people would call his good-looking peak. It should have been an absolute barnstormer, but it just. And again, with Craig R. Baxley, the entertainment value of Stone Cold, the entertainment value of Action Jackson, and I just thought it's a coulda, woulda, shoulda.
yeah, it is that. You're right. Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, it is a bit convoluted, and even though it's only about 85, was 80, 90 minutes, it's not long at all. As you've seen, we're probably down on our usual runtime here. Yeah, it's. I mean, for our first Dolph, I mean, is it? I mean, coming in, I thought it was probably his best. Looking at it now, it's probably not his best. So I mean, we better get
Well,
pentathlon
I'm
on.
still a big fan of the uncut Punisher. And again,
Yeah,
for the action sequences, I mean,
which is what.
obviously it's heresy in the fact that you never get the Punisher logo on his shirt. We all know that.
Yeah,
But in
yeah, they
terms
could.
of the
Yeah,
time it was made and before John Berntal and all this, Dolph was the right height, the right look. That he should have been an absolutely amazing Punisher with that skull gleaming bright.
yeah, but it
And
never really happened,
he
did it?
showed at his peak the action beats. I've actually been lucky enough to see the Punisher uncut about 3 times, and the
Uh-huh.
fight sequences are really good. It was all filmed, as we
Yeah,
know, in Australia. It's just that I get peeved that they called it the Punisher when they weren't going to go into the Punisher lore fully. Don't
yeah,
call it the Punisher and then not give him the logo and everything else and that. Just dead-hearted, kill everything that moves without worry. But it's still, in terms of action, he's still brilliant in it. And if you see
yeah,
the uncut version, it raises it up by a couple of points, you know. But like
Yeah,
you, I felt that when I watched it again, Dark Angel would be right up there. Well, I Come in Peace. Dark Angel would be right up
yeah,
there. And I just feel sad that two films in a row, we've come away with stuff that we really sort of like thought, yeah, 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 and gone, do you know what?
yeah. It's just that's it, isn't it? It's not good. It's not bad. It's just. Hmm. But it's yeah. So I think for me, if I'm looking at it, I'm probably about a 6 top end.
Do you know what? I wouldn't want to go against that. I'm the same. And the six for me is mainly because Baxley knows how to put together an action
Yeah,
sequence. He knows how to
yeah. It's
get
not terrible.
literally the bangs for his buck. He gets the bangs for his buck. And do you know what? More so than Dolph, I'm giving it for Matthias. He's a real kick-ass bad guy in this. And
Yeah,
and I said I love him anyway for that history. But I wanted more from Dolph. Not his fault. He's obviously gone by the script and with his director. But I'm giving it the 6 because Craig, bang for buck, and Matthias. If you're going to get a 7 for Alien, he looked the part for me.
yeah. Absolutely. So yeah. So yeah, we're so a 6 then. So yeah, so that's not bad. You know, it's not terrible. It's not the worst. It's not the best. So we're preparing ourselves because the next episode we're going to be going from alien harvesting endorphins to immortals chopping each other's heads off in car parks. So you know, I think we know where we're going on the next episode, and we've kind of mentioned it a couple of times. So yeah, if you're not aware, this has been I Come to Peace, Dark Angel, which was a time capsule of early 1990s action excess. You know, it had neon fireballs, lethal CDs, and Dolph's hair as dark as his humour. So, next up, we are trading that Space Mac for Scottish steel. We're heading to the Highlands and the back alleys of New York. We've got Queen on the soundtrack. We've got sword fights in parking lots and villains who steal every scene. So get ready because there can be only one. We are visiting 1986's Highlander.
Lovely. Can't wait, Matt.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So, everybody, thank you for watching. Make sure you're clicking the subscribe and commenting what you think. Tell us what you think is Dolph's best movie. Tell us what you think of Highlander. And tell us if you think there's any films you'd love to see us cover. Whatever you do, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you add the comments and ring the bell and all that jazz. And we will see you next time on Get to the Cheddar.